don't believe I have to remind you that this mission is top secret. Everything that you do will be rejected. Many of our best men have been on this mission before. We've sent in countless swabs, and we have uncovered massive levels of intel. But all those that we have caught, their mouths are shut tighter than Fort Knox. Every time we have a good lead, we come up short and empty-handed. This time, however, we're sending you undercover. You're gonna join them, become one of them, watch them, listen to them, and hopefully not be buried by them. We've lost a lot of the best boys we've got. We've lost countless taxpayers' dollars. You cannot become another casualty. Backroom deals, scumbags. We don't know what they're capable of, but we think we know what you're capable of. So be patient and listen. They're out there somewhere. They're out there.
And we are live. The big
Howdy.
live. Alive.
Howdy, howdy. Howdy.
Hi.
Mic check 1, 2, howdy, howdy.
Nice. Nice. I am Lord Glarp. This is the, let me get it over there, Trade and Raid podcast.
Are you
This
sure it's
is,
not the Raid and Trade podcast? That's what I signed my contract for.
where am I? Over. Yeah, well, we don't have to pay you if it's the wrong name. So this
Oh,
is
damn, you're right.
my
Shit.
co-host over here. Oh, finding the barrier of the edge of my finger. There. This is the amazing, the fantastic, the illustrious, the legendary Gun Metal Hime.
No, it's him. That's not me, that's him.
Not to be confused with your problematic waifu.
That is very true, because I am not a problematic waifu. In fact, no, I'm a very problematic waifu. I take that back. You're right. How are you guys? What's going on? Hello, chat. It is not my first time, even though I wish it kind of was. I think it'd be more fun that way.
Did I say your first time? If I did, I did not mean to.
No, you
Oh, good.
didn't. SK in chat was asking if it was my first time. It's like, unfortunately, no. Or I guess fortunately, no.
And
Well, it's first time live, right?
I was about to say, we also
It's
have
the first time
the
live, that's
pre-recorded.
true. That is true. Because the last one was pre-recorded. You're very right.
the gorgeous, one may say, panty-drenching voice of one celestial, angelic even, Star Sage.
This is what I get for saying it sounded like a moist word, isn't it? I started
Oh my.
this. It's my fault. I'm so sorry.
Sage, are you on the new mic?
Kind of, but not really. But yes.
Okay. Kind of, really, yes, not no. Okay, all right, sure. Sounds good to me. How about that soundboard?
It has a few things. I have more to upload to it.
Okay, can I offer my own suggestion here really quickly?
Negative.
Sure.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
What was that?
Paper towel
Oh,
roll
no, sweet.
falling.
Just the sound of a paper towel rolling. Nice.
It's great.
Can you give one a test, please, Sage?
Yep. Give me one moment.
I just want to see what it sounds like coming through on my end. If I'm not mistaken, it should come through the podcast as well.
It should, yes. I think it counts as a microphone output in Discord. Woo!
There it is.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
What is up, chat? As always, we have Alex, we have SK in the chat. Hello. You guys have been so awesome. You've been here, gosh, I want to say almost every single. I mean, what are we on? Episode 14. We're on 14, and you've been here. I mean, if not all, at least half. So appreciate you guys. Shout out you two. You've been awesome and very active in chat. You're going to be
That's
part of
always
the
very important.
lore,
Helps.
part of the legend that we are building here.
We're gonna waste more taxpayer dollars getting y'all set up. Don't worry about it. It'll be great.
Let me see here. Okay, I gotta remind my brain that when I look this way, I'm looking at Gun.
I think that when I look this way, I'm looking at you.
There
Or
it is.
Is it that it is this way? Beautiful. Okay, I can pretend that this focal point here is you, because that's good stage blocking.
Right? I'm like, I need to find an object. I need to just set up an object that I can talk to when I'm talking to Gun. This will be.
I mean, I'm already a woman, and that makes me barely better than an object. So.
I mean,
Oh, self-burn.
you're definitely above random object. I mean, maybe below house cat, but definitely above random object.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll take that. That's a win for me.
So Gun, tell the people who you are. Usually, I think that's a good place to start. Just for the people who don't know you. You know what I mean?
I don't exist.
You don't
I'm
gotta
not
do the
here.
entire elevator pitch or nothing. I mean, but you know.
But I'm not gonna bother with the elevator pitch. That's dumb. Hi, my name is Gun. I like a lot of anime and most importantly, Final Fantasy X. A lot of RPGs, which is how Glarp and I met because we both like RPGs, and that's why I'm here. And you guys have to listen to my voice. And I'd say that I'm sorry, but I'm not.
So Gun has stuff online.
Yes, I
Stuff and
have
things.
stuff and things online that I do, and that's okay. Because this isn't about me. This is about you, Glarp.
Places, things, and stuff. You know, it can be about you for a minute, you know.
I don't want it to be about me.
Sure, why not? People are going to watch this and they're going to be like, who's this Gun
So-
person and how can I
It
hear
does-
more of this Gun person?
I don't know
Mhm.
about that. I play too much Genshin for people to, anybody who's sane to come over and watch my content.
Yeah, so it's you know, if you're on Twitch, twitch.tv/gunmetalhime, right?
No, it's not.
A lot of
And I'm only saying no because
anime-esque
no.
content. What were we watching?
No.
I was watching you play yesterday. Oh,
I was
Persona
playing Persona
4.
4.
Ah, so
Yeah.
good. So
It
good.
is a very good game.
It's not a game that I personally have like the patience to play
But
because it's a lot of
it's-
dialogue.
There's a lot of dialogue, but the dungeon crawling is a lot of fun. And you go back and forth between the dialogue and the dungeon crawling, too. Oh my... I saw it do it this time! Haha, I'm so smart.
It didn't do the good face though.
It did not do the good face, but honestly, thank God. Oh, OBS is dead. Lovely. I am so sorry, Glarp. I thought it was gonna work this time. Oh, whoa, no, whoa.
I am
Technical difficulties.
As always,
I am stressed none. Don't forget this is a podcast, so you know
true.
people are listening more than they're watching anyway.
Just listen to the sultry sound of my voice. Oh God.
I mean that's how Sage does it.
As he should.
Disembodied voice all the time.
Yes, a look at my unearthly visage would
Now,
scar the minds of mere mortals.
Sage, you stream every now and then, right?
Yeah,
Every so
I
often?
do. Every so often, I do want to get into it more, but it's a slow burn thing, like many things in my life.
Okay.
Honestly, mood invalid.
what's-
I've been there.
What's your handle?
So it should be Celestial Sage.
Celestial Sage, so twitch.tv/Celestial Sage. And you're working on like a VTuber type thing? Like some kind of
Yep,
virtual avatar?
Yep, and that's what's coming. That's what's in the works.
So, I mean, new microphone, virtual avatar. I mean, we're looking at some good stuff here.
Truly. There we go. I'm just gonna pull the stream up on my phone. And then close out Chrome, because maybe Chrome is the problem.
Gotta build up the team, you know, build each other up. Spread the word. And
I
then,
am personally a fan of yelling other people's names to the rooftops while hiding myself, so
yeah, right. If you guys have noticed, I have not said a single thing about myself.
Maybe you should.
Nah, it's fine. If
Maybe
they're
you
if
should.
they're here, they know. They know.
Maybe you should. This is the threat.
This is a threat.
Because the people who are here might know, but you got to remember there's many people who are listening to this who maybe don't know. So
True enough. I am going through a rebrand though. Such is the way of all things that I have ever done.
I feel that. It
But,
do be like that sometimes.
I'm staying Lord Glarp. The Lord of Glarps will always be he who glarped. I glarped first. None glarp before me, none shall glarp after. The Lord of all that glarps.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like the word ladle.
For
except it's glarp.
the glarp tolls.
I don't know about that.
Juicy.
I don't know. Mm-mm.
But the YouTube channel is being changed to Trade and Raid.
Oh, fair enough. Are you gonna have a second Lord Glarp channel?
No, maybe, probably. I already have 3 channels, but
I noticed.
but 2 of them don't do anything.
I was like, 2 of them don't do anything. One of them is from like a decade ago, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, that's the 4th one. That's the secret one.
Well, that's too bad because whenever you search it in the YouTube search bar, it's like the first one that comes up.
I know it is. I know.
I know you know.
I lost the ability to access it, so I had to kind of just move along. I should have.
What you should do is file for a trademark and then get it copyright struck, so it
copyright strike myself to remove.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny.
It
if that actually worked, they would then remove my other channels because I technically have been copyright struck and I can't have a channel on YouTube anymore.
I think it depends.
Could you imagine copyright striking yourself into oblivion?
That would be so funny, but honestly, if I was ever going to quit doing content, that's exactly what I would do.
I'd be
Get rid of everything.
Just
it would be a dope power move.
It would be.
Exactly.
No one kills me but me.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I did when I turned like 22 and I just nuked all of my social media from high school. So you'll never find me saying anything problematic that I don't currently stand by. You're welcome.
Oof. Biggest same ever. The day that I started recording things that were going to stay on YouTube was the day I cleaned house, because I was like, I have not always been this person.
The funny thing too is that's not even why I did it. I think I like literally just had mental health issues that needed more help than I was getting. So, hey, here we go. And I also only really had a Facebook. So Facebook sucks. I hate Facebook.
There's a man, I don't even want to say it.
Wayback Machine only works if you have it archived to begin with. And if nobody cared to archive it, it's not gonna be there. Pro strat.
There are random like web scraper archivals, but it's unlikely. You still kind of have to know what to look for, so it's still unlikely.
That's the other thing too, is I only started using Gunmetal Hime after that. So unless you know my old usernames, you're not gonna know.
Yeah, same.
You're not gonna know.
I went by a different name. Lord Glarp was always the gamer name, but there was another name.
I've had several other names. One in particular is problematic in the anime community, so we love that. Well, I guess it depends on how you read it, because it's not really, because it's also a fashion style, but it could also mean something else that people don't take kindly to. So,
is it Gangaro?
No, but I like that.
Okay, that was the first thing that jumped to my mind.
No, I already have gun in my username. If that was going to be an issue, we'd have a problem right now.
So I've been tracking my mystery box vintage video game magazine order, the 80s to 90s version, and the order is placed. I'm just not sure. I have not been given a tracking number or anything like that on it.
Oh, that's sussy.
But I wanted to give you guys the update that, like, they got the order, but let me check real quick just to double check, make sure I'm not talking out my ass too much. I don't know. Maybe they don't tell you when it has shipped. I don't know. Not sure.
They should, though.
I feel like they should, but
yeah.
they are sending. I mean, I the good thing is they have enough reviews, and they're all 5-star reviews. They're good. They're good stuff, and they're a pretty well known society within the gaming world. So if they were messing around with people, word would spread very fast because they are the gaming historical.
Yeah, they're all bots.
I think it's because I specifically selected 80s to 90s, so they probably have to like go into
like, oh man, I can't just grab whatever's on the front shelf, so they gotta like go back and do.
I gotta actually go do my job now. What the fuck?
Like the vault from frickin' Indiana Jones at the very end with with the arc.
Yeah.
Like, just...
However, I will say the reviews did say that all of so far that I've seen that all the magazines were in pristine condition, and that was the other thing I was worried about, was getting something old and cool but looking its age a little too much. I also don't want it to like fall apart on stream. That would bum me out.
That would suck.
And because it's subscription based, there might be just a day of the month that they do it.
Also possible.
You know, just so many different possibilities. Anyway, I have fulfilled my obligation of filling up the first 15 minutes with aimless chatter. Now we can get on to the segment. So full disclosure for anybody watching, both Gunmetal Hime and Sage do not know what this is beyond just a little blurb.
A teaser.
Should I close the stream on my phone?
No, you can definitely have it up.
Okay.
Just meaning if I'm, talking a lot, reading a lot, that's
I'm here to be the peanut gallery. That's what I was hired to do. That's why they're only paying me in peanuts.
Unless I'm like, hey, okay, your turn to read, Gun. Your turn to read, Sage.
I don't want to read.
Oh my god, reading
popcorn. Read? That was in my contract.
Popcorn glarp.
Okay, chat.
Blah 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 blah. Your turn.
Grab a random person.
Read. Oh god.
Ah.
Henry, I haven't heard you speak in a little bit. Why don't you read the next paragraph? Oh god.
Yeah, the worst.
Dude, I fucking love reading. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
No,
especially
I like doing it in
to
class
come out of my shell.
I just didn't like teachers making me do it, which is part of my problem. I have a problem with authority.
That's fair.
So this segment is going to run the full length of the podcast.
Woo!
And we're not going to be able to get through everything because there's too much.
Is that a challenge?
No, it's not. We're not speed running it.
Shit.
What we're going to talk about to begin with is what I'm calling geek prehistory, which is basically everything that leads up to mass gaming, anime consumption, cosplaying, and comic books and comic movies, really. The Marvel universe, all that stuff. So this is everything like pre-1960s.
Lovely.
But obviously there's a lot of history that goes before the 1960s. A lot of human history pre-1960s. So basically we're going to start as far back as we can go, and I'm going to draw as well as I can a line from what is it? The 6th century? Yes. Draw a line from the 6th century Anglo-Saxon mythology to current day.
Lovely.
And there's one tidbit in here I could not find the article for that I read years and years ago, but it's a neat story. I don't know how true it is or is not, so take it with a grain of salt, but it was very cool and inspirational to me. So I will share it with you guys as either just a story that's neat or a piece of history, but just
it's real now.
Disclaimer, it's kind of like a secondhand information. I don't know where the article is. If I find the article later, I'll link it in the description to this podcast. So as you guys have been seeing, what's up on screen? Anglo-Saxon mythology. Can either of you guess what the importance of Anglo-Saxon mythology is.
Fucking white people.
I mean,
Fucking white people.
because obviously all things nerdy are owned by the whites. So
Clearly. And even if it's not, we're going to take it because it's our God-given right or some shit. I don't know.
Well, I would imagine that
I'll take this, and I'll take this, and I'll take this.
Colonialism, yay! God.
Did you guys see the clip from the new Spider-Verse movie with the India
No.
Spider-Man from India?
No.
There's a great line there. If you haven't watched it, you totally should.
By the way,
Yeah.
we will be talking about the colonization times
Oh,
because
I love that.
because if like the Spanish and the French and the English did not colonize and do all their barbaric colonization, we might not have manga, and if we didn't have manga, we might not have anime.
Shit.
I mean, obviously,
Well, every action has an equal and opposite
Yeah.
reaction, and I think that's one of those opposite reactions that they were talking about.
so I mean, things probably would have happened anyway, but we can draw some lines in correlation. So, Sage, you said white people, right? So what do you got, Gun? Or was that your answer too?
I forget what I was gonna say because white people was just such a funny answer. I was gonna say that I feel like, as far as Anglo-Saxon influence on current nerd stuff, it would be the fact that a lot of Anglo-Saxon mythology is word of mouth, and a lot of it's bullshit, depending on who you talk to. And that by itself would be a whole reason for stories like that to be propagated, where even if they're not real, they've got some sort of meaning to people.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, that's a good jumping off point for sure.
I liked white people better, though. That was a very funny answer.
It was
so
a funnier answer.
it's also true.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Anglo-Saxon, composed of tribes of was that Angles? Angles, Saxons,
90 degrees, 30 degrees.
Frisians, Germans, Britain, Scandinavia, Netherlands, Northern Germany. So you got all these pre-Germanic tribes and stuff like that, and because it's you could have a town that could support maybe 100 people that was around for a long time, and then by the time historians got to it, no one's lived there for hundreds of years, and we don't know who they were. They spoke a language, they had a written language, but it's not like anything else. So you ended up with these scholars who their specialty was basically having to learn dozens of very small languages that were passed on and had some historical value, but they were so contained that you were basically relearning a language every time you interacted with a new, not even just a tribe or a region, but possibly a single town or a single island.
Which is actually also a big problem in China as well, because there are so many dialects that can differ greatly.
It's really interesting how languages do that. And it's also even weirder how languages that are entirely separated from it. I'm going to go off on a whole linguist side tangent here, but basically I think it's really neat how in particular recently the one that got me really good was in Spanish, pan is bread, and in Japanese, pan is bread. But they're entirely secluded from each other in the way that their languages were formed. But apparently that's a neurological, sociological thing where that's
That's the entire subtext of Bleach, because they're just mixing Spanish, German, and Japanese together in weird ways.
That's also just Full Metal Alchemist, but hey. I guess Full Metal Alchemist is more just Germany. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Point being, it's very silly and neat. Humans are cool.
That's another topic I'd like to get into someday that doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but it's such an interesting topic of different inventions throughout history that were invented by different civilizations that were separated by space and language, but they were invented around the same time.
Isn't that so cool?
It's a super interesting concept. There was a guy, he wrote a book. I didn't read the book, but I read about it. And it's basically this whole theory that if you were to take 500 humans, strip them of their clothes, throw them on a planet that's very Earth-like.
This is just Conan.
And they didn't have memories of civilization and stuff, that eventually they would invent in the same exact method we invent and build in the same method we build. And then you fast
so
forward
neat. I love
2,000 years
that.
later, you would have a civilization that looks and acts a lot like this one. Ooh, nice freeze. That's a good one.
It could be worse. I
You
might
know-
just leave it.
It's not bad. Truly. You know what we could do? We could have a backup one for if you get too frustrated, where I cut around the mouth and we do the South Park Canadian head. So your head can...
I love that. That's hilarious. But I've got another option here that I'm gonna take a second for me to set up. But we can keep talking in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep it going. Do you want me to switch, or are you cool with that box being there? I don't mind.
The box is fine. Whatever works for you best. It's not like anybody's gonna see it anyway.
The box is fine. So the Anglo-Saxons believed in supernatural creatures such as elves, dwarves, and giants, or ettins, who often brought harm to them. It's likely that they believed weird, German werden, usually translated as fate, although the modern term fate does little justice to the true meaning of weird. So if you guys ever, if you play like an RPG and someone mentions the weird, like the encroachment of the weird, that's a German concept. So then you also have all these crossovers, because obviously these tribes, they traded with each other, people migrated, moved, warred with each other, all that stuff. Over hundreds and hundreds of years, everyone starts getting all their shit mixed up, and you end up with Norse and German, Anglo-Saxon equivalents of different words. Like the Aesir, Odin, Thor, all these different characters. So I don't really want to get ridiculously deep into that. All I wanted to talk about was kind of these Anglo-Saxons and the people who kind of brought them back to life after, hundreds of years of them being kind of shut down. One of those people was J.R.R. Tolkien. And I don't think I think a lot of people, when they think of Tolkien, they think of someone who was just a lifelong author, and that's all he did. He was part of the British Army for 5 years, made rank of lieutenant. He was in 4 battles in World War One. And he was an author, obviously. But for quite a bit of his history, he was a professor? So from 1925 to 1945, Tolkien was Roslin and Brosworth Professor of Anglo-Saxon and a Fellow of Pembroke College, both at the University of Oxford. He then moved within the same university to become the Merton Professor of English Language and Literature and a Fellow of Merton College, and held these positions until 1945. So what I want to point out is that he was born in 1892, and he was a professor until 1945. Obviously, he was doing a ton of writing throughout this time. And a lot of his notes and stuff and a lot of his original writings were for his kids. And basically he was just, The Hobbit basically just started out as a story that he was writing for his kids, full stop.
And I absolutely adore the Hobbit novel.
Amazing novel. I mean, the whole J.R.R. Tolkien lore, not just the stories, but just drinking in the lore. There is so much lore that has not been made into any part of book or movie.
And isn't it just crazy how that ended up working out? Just it's amazing.
Intense. Even if you just YouTube search who is Gandalf or what is Gandalf, the sheer amount of information you'll get that he's a celestial being from another realm, and that him and the rest of the mages are akin to supernatural beings, and they were sent by a godlike being to help man. It's the lore is so big. We'll get into that a little bit more though. So what's interesting here, if you look at this, he basically started his kind of professional career as a professor of Anglo-Saxon. So basically what he was doing is his job not only was to learn, but he was learning languages, and specifically trying to translate lost languages, so that way we could kind of figure out what things people in these Anglo-Saxon tribes were trying to learn. Oh shit! Nice.
There we go. See, yeah, you guys get the VTuber model today because apparently my OBS isn't working. So,
Let me see here. Let me Nice. Don't mind me. I'm gonna just resize and stuff. Oh, that's awesome. I've never seen that.
I've used it once.
I feel like you used to have an old one
I did.
that had teal hair, is what I'm
Yes.
imagining.
Yes. This is the third version of my VTuber avatar that I never use. So.
I like it a lot. How much?
I hate to derail, but
How much movement does it have?
enough. With the current software I've got, this is such a derail. I am so sorry.
No, it's
With
good.
my current software, I really only do like face tracking and blink tracking and stuff, but it does track my eyes, it tracks my mouth. If I had a thing called a leap motion, I could also track my hands, but I'm not that invested in this yet. So
I
but
like
in
it.
general, just a lot of movement. I can do the whole thing. The hair is a little stiff, but that's something I can't really fix. And I think it works anyway, so it's okay.
Looks good. I like it.
Thank you.
Let me. It's something I've noticed, and if I don't fix it, I'm gonna notice it. No one else might notice it, but I'll notice it.
Yeah, there you go.
Flip horizontal. There we go. Now the word faster says faster.
Faster!
There we go.
Yay! I didn't even notice.
You know me about that whole flip thing back and forth. I'm like, I can't.
Fair enough.
I cannot. I'll notice myself looking off screen and I can't handle it.
It's
So,
like, oh god, what's going on? I feel that.
so basically, we're not going to get super into Tolkien. We're not going to get crazy into it. However, it's important to note that basically he was a professor of both language, literature, Anglo-Saxon history, mythology, with a specialization in recovering ancient languages. That's the important bit to pull from that. And that he did that all the way up until his retirement in 1959. So like I said, I think a lot of people think about Tolkien as like the guy who wrote fantasy novels. And it's interesting because all of those fantasy novels, they all take their history back to languages. They take it all back to these lost languages. So he got to read and he was exposed to versions of Anglo-Saxon mythology that we don't have a ton of record of, or much record of, or possibly any record of, beyond maybe some like scholarly novels. So he has seen and read about versions of dragons and orcs and elves and dwarfs that, you know, we haven't seen. What's interesting about that to me, well, I should say this is where that story comes in that I read about the inception of, or the conception of, Gandalf. And basically how the story goes, again, I don't have the sources for this, but how the story goes is that Tolkien was actually out in the field in one of these ruins, one of these Anglo-Saxon tribal ruins, small village, isolated village. They had their own written language, but they only wrote, obviously none of the like tree bark and shit that they were using as makeshift paper survived. But when they were dismantling a fence, a stone slab fence, they found basically stone tablets that someone had chiseled language into. And that's why he got called in, because they're like, oh shit, a language, we need the language guy. He was the language guy. I don't know if they did rubbings of it or if he was actually out in the field. The story says he was out in the field. But basically this slab story that he had translated was about an old, long-bearded man who carried around a long piece of withered wood, who lived out in the woods, would sometimes come into town and help people with their circumstances socially. So he wasn't like a mage in the sense of like throwing fireballs and stuff like that. He was someone who, by being around the correct steps were taken, it was like he knew how to advise people to a better position in life. Which is interesting because when you see Gandalf, both in the books, obviously in the movies, he doesn't really, like, he's magical, he's powerful, but a lot of what he does is just advise. Just get people on the right track, get things moving. And really that's what this original wizard. So it's really cool to consider that if you see a wizard or a mage in any video game, anime, movie, the true birth of that concept, at least from this story, came from some random guy who was writing some fiction, probably to just keep his kids or his tribe entertained, just writing some fiction for his tribe, and was conveying a story he probably heard. Which I find that shit to be insanely interesting.
It is. It's crazy, but like in like a cool way. It's just like the history of doing. Obviously, fiction's like a huge part of the human experience, even before nerddom was a whole thing. So I think that it's neat.
You still there, Sage?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard you in a while. I figured when I was talking about Tolkien, you'd be jumping up and down for joy. We're not going to get too much more into Tolkien. It's just, you cannot talk about the history of nerddom without talking about Tolkien. And I think it's interesting to know, because we all, anyone who's a fan of Lord of the Rings knows that it has a whole bunch of invented languages in it. And he invented those languages because that was his specialty, was translating those languages. And then he started creating worlds and stuff like that. So now we move on to Robert E. Howard, a controversial man. Do you guys know Robert E. Howard?
Not off the top of my head, but my first thought when you said controversial was Lovecraft, so.
Yeah, if you look down here, I don't know if you can see that. So basically everything that's kind of controversial about him is his relationship with H.P. Lovecraft.
Love that. Yay.
They were around at the same time. They were writing fiction at the same time. They were both interested in like the darker side of fantasy. And
it's Conan. I made a Conan joke earlier. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was a good tie-in. And speaking of Conan, when you go to Robert E. Howard's IMDb page,
in his first adventure,
we get the trailer of Conan.
And crushed the empire of an evil sorcerer.
Wonderful.
But his biggest triumph,
I think this is for Conan
was
2.
at the box office. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is back as Conan the Destroyer, to join forces with a wizard, a warrior, a runaway, and a renegade.
All movies back in the day were just finding a desert and doing things in it.
Great spaghetti westerns.
Who will rule the world?
It's like all of sci-fi is deserts.
A band of outcasts.
All of westerns is deserts. Yeah, good enough. We get the point. So this is kind of, you got to talk about Robert E. Howard, and in some case, you got to talk about Lovecraft a little bit, because this is where all of our dark fantasy comes from. Basically, Robert E. Howard, and if you look into him, it's very interesting the way that he thought about fantasy. But basically, he took what Lovecraft had written and some of the fantasy stuff that kind of branched off of that. And both him and Lovecraft had, well, Lovecraft, it was more of like a religion thing, but for Robert E. Howard, it was more of a fantasy thing. That he was like, if there were all these dragons, there was all this magic, there was all this power, there was all of these gigantic power differences between individuals, humans would be on the bottom of the totem pole.
100%.
It's like this shit's way too big. So dark fantasy.
I love that so much.
I
love dark fantasy.
Yeah, dark fantasy is amazing because it's like you get the gritty truth of how insignificant humans are in a fantasy world.
It's part of why I like Lovecraft too. Eldritch horrors and all that stuff. Is
so
just,
good.
It's so good.
And the Lovecraft, you know, obviously he had a ridiculous amount of like psychological issues, and just a horrible
racism issues, and you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but his the crazy thing is a lot of the shit he wrote about was stuff that he almost like in a form of psychosis, like could see things.
God,
Very,
I wish that was me.
very mentally troubled man. And he was, you know, horribly abused as a child and stuff like that. So he was pretty messed up mentally. And his idea was that God, if there were a God or a powerful godlike being, that it would be cold and indifferent to humanity. And
100%.
so he took that as like this big, grand cold indifference, like existentialism, nihilism, that in that direction. And Robert E. Howard was like, okay, fine, let's ignore the cold indifference of like the gods, and let's just say fantasy, but real. And what's interesting to me is that the controversy around Conan, and it's not super controversial for the time, but a little bit because of scantily clad women in the 1980s. But I'm trying to think of the best way to word it. Think about The Boys. Like, any of you guys who have watched The Boys know that it's like very graphic, very gritty, and someone basically went superheroes, but real. You know, what if you gave a real human all this power? How would they act? That's basically all Robert E. Howard did, was this is the fantasy world, but how would it really be? I do like the idea that dark fantasy is basically just grounded fantasy. It's just realistic fantasy. He died.
Unless you take it one step too far and do Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
That's a bridge too far.
Hey, we don't diss the grim dark around here. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't love it. But it threw the realism out.
Oh yeah, well I mean, but that's part of the fun of it.
Warhammer 40k did get cleared for a live action television series. Just throwing that out there.
Wonderful. So then we can start talking about space racism too. Love
Yay!
that. Yay!
Be really
space
dope.
racism.
All right, so Robert E. Howard, we bring him up for dark fantasy purposes. That's where he comes from. Now we need to talk about Isaac Asimov. He's a Russian man.
Here's my boy.
Do you know Isaac Asimov?
That's the 3 laws of robotics, bro.
Yeah. 3 laws of robotics. Do robots stream of electric sheep? That sort of shit.
Nice.
Very good.
Glad y'all know.
Yeah, we're not that stupid. Come
know.
on.
I mean, I won't say I'm not, but you know.
I mean, I'm pretty stupid in a lot of ways. That's something that I do know. So let me have this.
So the reason we got to bring him up is because as far as like an author goes, he is kind of the beginning of sci-fi. Obviously, there were some before him. There were some around him. He is just attributed as, I mean, he wrote or edited more than 500 books. He also wrote an estimated 90,000 letters and postcards, best known for his hard science fiction. He also wrote mystery and fantasy, as well as nonfiction. What was his, he had some prizes. He got all these prizes. He made a ton of shit. A lot of science fiction. And he was the inspiration behind a lot of future science fiction. So we talked about where did fantasy come from. We talked about the origin of dark fantasy. We got to talk about the origin of sci-fi, because basically when you mix any combination of these three things together, you get every video game ever made.
Woo! Video games!
We will tie it back in. We shall. Interesting. He was a biochemist.
Interesting.
And I found that the area of chemistry and being a chemist is very consistent amongst sci-fi writers of his time. I don't know if it's like because they were messing with like weird bubbly technology and stuff like that, and we weren't like in a supercomputer age, so it was like a lot of tubes and stuff. I don't know.
It was analog, but it was designed for the same purposes that we use almost everything digitally now.
Glarp, can we do an episode where we talk about analog horror?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I'm so down with that.
I'm so glad you said that word, Sage, because I have been on the biggest analog horror binge. It's so
Nice.
good.
And I wanted to celebrate this man, who I would consider to be kind of one of the founding fathers of science fiction. I would go that far. Modern, basically science fiction as we understand it anyway. With his life quote, I like this. This quote is like such a good quote from him. I have had a good life, and I have accomplished all I wanted to, and more than I had a right to expect I would.
Based.
Man, that's it right there. That's
He eats his humble pie for lunch and dinner.
absolutely.
And he loves it. Tasty. Num num num.
He's definitely someone worth looking into. I would, as this YouTube channel progresses, I'm definitely going to be doing deep dives into some of these people, doing little essays
yes.
on them, because I think that they deserve a little more than what they got on the internet currently, and kind of like why they're important. Not just who they were, but like why they're important for what we got going on right now.
Eventually, they'll all get their Netflix documentary, right?
Their Wendigoon episode.
Yeah, but if it's a YouTube video, I won't just reuse the same exact picture 50 times and repeat
The
myself
same
500
over
times.
and over.
and-
Oh my god.
It's like this
Like,
2-hour
it's not about
documentary.
what you put on the screen, it's about what you read behind it.
It's so true.
You ever seen one of those Sasquatch documentaries?
Not recently, but yes.
They're a master class in like, how do you say the same 5 minutes worth of content for an hour?
It's brilliant.
it's
I really wish I could do that.
It should be an Olympic sport. It's amazing. So his books, Foundation and Earth. What was the one? Maybe it was Foundation and Earth. It does not sound correct. I was trying to think of what his big one was. What was his big series that really defined him in his career? I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess when you've written 300 things or 500 things,
It's hard to pick just
it's
one.
a soup of
It
stuff.
do be like that, though. Hell, I've only got, 10 videos, and I still can't remember what I've done already.
Was he the writer of the Foundation series? I have that up here, but I don't know if he's the one who wrote it. We'll see. Isaac Asimov. The Foundation series is a science fiction book series written by American author Isaac Asimov. Okay, so
So I have to ask, too, before we continue. Are you sure it's supposed to be Isaac and it's not Isaac?
it could be Isaac. It is definitely Isaac.
Okay.
Isaac. He's Russian,
Isaac.
so I don't even know. I just know
I have to make
Asimov.
sure. I just have to make sure because someone's going to get on you for mispronouncing that in particular. I can feel it.
I mispronounce so much. I don't even.
I know it's okay.
I like let
It's
it.
part of your
I let it. It's part of my charm. Nice. I'll take it. But the Foundation series was the inspiration for Star Trek. Is pretty much the only thing I'm getting at with this particular series. This is a series that a lot of science fiction screenwriters refer back to. It's a pretty nice size. It's a pretty chunky series. Basically, the first one was published in 1942. The last one was published in 1993. It's really spanning a lot of time. There's prequels, there's sequels, all that stuff. Definitely worth looking into. That gets us into Gene Roddenberry, who was what was his title? The screenwriter, producer, creator of Star Trek, the original series, its sequel spin-off series, the Star Trek animated series, Next Generation.
Next Generation's my favorite.
Born in El Paso, Texas, which is why basically every time they go to a planet, 90% of the time it's a desert planet. He's like, yeah, we'll just go out in the desert somewhere. Filming
Just
it.
throw up some
if it
cardboard
works, it
boxes
works.
and call them alien structures.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta
Listen, they're telling stories.
Obelisks out in the middle of the desert.
Got to get back to the ship. I can't breathe. I had too much LSD.
I love LSD.
And peyote.
MK Ultra, anybody?
So what's interesting is
Oh, yeah.
in 1985, he became the first TV writer with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Later was inducted into both the Science Fiction Hall of Fame and the Academy of Television Arts and Science Hall of Fame. So it's also nice to it's nice to note that these were there was a lot of TV writers in the world, right? He was the first one to be kind of recognized on that level for his science fiction contributions.
Good.
For anyone who doesn't know what Star Trek, the original series, is, we have another fantastic video. I didn't watch this, so I have no idea what it is. Ah, nice. Cutting edge.
The names of the other disruptors.
There are no disruptors.
This is the 1960s, early 1970s, so more than likely a female is going to get slapped.
Oh boy!
Frog-like
I'm leaving.
is an
Bye, guys.
abbreviation of an ancient Earth term.
You know, I like looking at like random set pieces. Remember, like everyone had one of these in their houses. Like that's the light generator, and their little fiber optic wires, and the tops like light up. Do you guys remember the fiber optic plant? And it's just one sitting there. This is literally just a regular living room.
Translation is cave dweller.
You know, but it makes it look
Yes, I should
extra
realize.
sci-fi. It looks like science, I guess.
You know, like this is just an orb of wires on a pedestal. The set pieces from the original Star Trek are fabulous.
Mr. Advisor.
Kerplunk.
Plunk.
It was prior to background music.
Oh.
She's stubborn. And as you yourself pointed out, Captain.
Well, see, now I have to
search
wonder
for
how that
your
even
assignment
happens.
must be short.
Because I mean, I guess it makes sense. Because like, I don't know.
Surely there are better
I feel
methods
like
than
the world
this.
would be very
Physical
sad if
discomfort
the
is
videos
extremely
and movies
persuasive,
didn't have
Captain.
background
Yes.
music. So I don't really know how they lived
But
without
I
that
won't
before.
stand by while someone is tortured.
Is it preferable to spare Vanna
I don't know.
and allow an entire...
Can they understand?
Oh, it's
all the little
literally
things
just
you
a
and
scene.
I understand and expect.
And obviously the Vulcans are just elves, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Just literally just elves. So we've made it to Star Trek. We've made it to 1966.
Hell yeah.
Star Trek is very, very important. I am not a big Star Trek fan, and Star Trek, the original
Boo.
series,
Boo!
I kid not, like, I feel physically nauseous attempting to watch the original Star Trek videos.
Honestly, that's fair. The Next Generation is the only one that I can watch without feeling like I'm gonna get hit by somebody. You know?
Yeah, right. It's like original 007 and original Star Trek. It's just every woman watching it.
Like, oh god.
Just getting like secondhand PTS from watching too many old movies. Probably.
So
not
what
the
do I
most-
poison my husband and then you know, it's some sort of femme fatale movie from the 40s. Never? Okay, just checking.
Nope.
Damn.
Perhaps one of the nicest things you can say about them in that regard is that they're a product of their time.
Yeah, no shit. Oh God.
All right. I put this whole thing together quite a while ago, and I was extremely tired when I did it. So from this point on, we are mostly going to be in territory I don't remember.
Yay! That's fun.
So I'm going to go back to Tolkien just for a second because I had a note here I didn't read. Let's see. Tolkien's inspiration for The Hobbit is often said to have come from his professional work as a professor. We did that. His personal interest in language and mythology, his fascination with constructed languages began in his youth. He developed his own languages. So he actually was developing languages prior to writing The Hobbit. The Hobbit was initially conceived to provide a context and history for these languages that he had written. Yeah, we talked about all this. Let's see here. The landscape and climate of Middle-earth is often mirrored those in Britain, where Tolkien lived. The Shire is reminiscent of rural England. The great dragon Smaug shares similarities with the dragons found in Beowulf and Norse mythology, while the riddles in the dark scene with Gollum uses the tradition of riddling found in Old English literature. Okay, that's it.
Interesting.
Like the Sphinx.
Let's see. Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek with the idea of a future where humanity had overcome its internal struggles and was exploring the galaxy as a unified species. His inspiration was derived from several sources. Roddenberry was a fan of science fiction, and he was particularly influenced by the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, who we talked about. Isaac Asimov.
You just say it however it feels best. You don't need you really don't need to push it. I promise.
However, he also drew on his own experience as a bomber pilot in World War II and a commercial pilot for Pan America World Airways, along with his work as a Los Angeles police officer. The structure of the Starfleet organization shows similarity to naval and military structures, while the diverse crew of the Enterprise is reflecting to the multiculturalism and social issues at the time.
Based.
Roddenberry has described the series as a wagon train to the stars, combining elements of the Western genre with a futuristic setting. He was intent on using the series as a way to discuss social and political issues indirectly, which was uncommon for TV shows at the time. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about that. 1966. Yeah, probably a little controversial to have
It's a little bit.
a black woman and an Asian man as two of your main characters.
Not just as your main characters, but also in a relationship with the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah.
Interesting. I guess I didn't think about it in the context of like what year it was or the time framing.
I mean, it's a lot easier to parse things in like your current time. I feel like I'm not gonna fully whatever it, but I think that's a lot of the reason that a lot of people have issues trying to figure out like Japanese media because they can't relate it to themselves. Because a lot of Japanese media is based on Japanese social issues rather than yeah.
Especially when you get into the weeds of like the Japanese relationship with Germany during World War II, and the teen rebellious kind of infatuation with Nazi memorabilia, like has a very different context over there than it does here.
It does. It really does. Oh God.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm messing with something.
Which is very fascinating, and has caused quite a few people to clutch their pearls.
That's just one of my favorite things, because one of my favorite anime is Hellsing Ultimate. But
and Nazis feature pretty prominently in that.
Oh yeah, they do. And they're the bad guys, obviously, but a lot of places and a lot of conventions I've gone to, you can't properly cosplay a Millennium member because obvious reasons. Yeah.
So I got to give honorable mention to A Space Odyssey.
Oh.
2001.
Yeah.
I can't let you do that, Glarp.
2001 is what is the future. The future is now. I love it.
Distant future.
I love it when our real world, real life date matches like old movie dates.
I feel the same way.
Like Back to the Future.
Now, yeah.
What was that, Gun?
As it stares at 1984.
Yeah, it's so good. So this, I'm going to be honest. I have never watched Space Odyssey beginning to end.
That's okay. I don't think I have either.
Always fall asleep halfway through.
That's me. This movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. And
Honestly, it's just hard to find the time to watch full feature-length movies anymore,
No
especially on your own.
Do you mind if I
Movies,
ask
like
you a
God,
personal
couldn't be
question?
me.
No, not at all.
that voice, though,
How do you mean?
Rumors about something
I've
being
heard
dug up
that
on the moon.
it has been
I find them difficult to
Open the pod bay
like the
doors,
remaster is like really good,
anymore.
like well done. We do have an international space station, and it is pretty big. We do have people up there, so I mean, you know,
For what it's worth.
we don't look like that.
Interstellar will be a good one too when that date rolls around.
Oh, no
Like,
kidding.
Guess what? We're still growing food, you bunch of losers.
Yeah, right.
It's all hydroponic, and we're floating in the ocean now because everywhere's underwater. It's actually Waterworld, but
Yeah, which so yeah, it's like you get
God.
frozen, like you get frozen and they unfreeze you, however long later.
cryostasis.
And when you get up, it's like, what happened? And they're like, oh, you missed the entire dystopia. You slept through the whole thing. Ooh, which one was it? Mad Max, Waterworld? Just which one would we get? And they're like,
Why not both?
we went Waterworld. They're like, oh,
Waterworld. It's Waterworld.
interesting.
Not our finest choice, but we did what we could with what we had.
Right.
We abandoned the planet, let nature take back over the course of 2,000 years. We came back and woke you up. Nice.
Great.
Oh, but global warming is still a thing. So
Dang it.
Well, that was the whole point of me going to sleep. If global warming still exists, why am I here?
we finally have affordable VR headsets. That's why.
Oh, you know what? You sold me at affordable VR headsets.
Yeah.
So
How's
we're
the battery life?
Infinite battery life.
Fuck yes.
we're gonna talk a tiny bit about comics. We're gonna swing back around to the topic because the topic of political satire basically being the catalyst for manga, being the catalyst for newspaper comics, being the catalyst for comic books is like a very complicated topic. However, I will just say, comic books get their origin from like 1800s, like 1830s political satire single frames.
I love that. That's lovely.
And
I love me a good political cartoon, but
That-
not the ones that they post on Facebook.
right, and the old ones are funny as heck because like
They are. They're really good.
half the
Oh,
time
you don't
they
like the
still
Minions
apply.
based political commentary?
I'm just a fan of people
Oh.
actually not liking rich people.
Well, the cool thing is the original ones, and we'll get into this later. The original ones were like painted, like hand painted, like they look like a gorgeous Victorian paintings, but they're actually political satire, which is
I love
amazing.
that.
And when those paintings made their way to Japan via wealthy missionaries, Catholic missionaries, when their artists pick them up, what you can get away with in England and in the early US, you absolutely could not get away with doing in Japan. You can't just draw the emperor as like a bumbling idiot because, you and your family and your extended family would probably be killed for that.
It's like, congratulations, y'all go to Gulag.
So the Japanese had to be like way, way, way more careful and crafty about it.
Mm.
And it's interesting that the concept of drawing a picture of a fictional character in a fictional circumstance and building a story off of that visually is like a concept that's less than like 200 years old,
Isn't that funny?
as far as like in mass anyway.
Well, I also feel like drawing is also a more accessible thing now than it used to be. Because before it used to be a miracle if you could even read.
Right. So you'd almost think that pictures, I mean, I guess you had like hieroglyphs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's all. That was mostly like economy stuff, and then like
and
proclamations
and historical stuff, like just keeping track of shit or explaining why things happen. This was like, complex characters who never existed doing things humans can't do. Kind of a mix of mythology and stuff, but for humor's sake. It's so interesting that satire, obviously there's like weird things that they wrote back in like the Roman era, but those were more like making fun of and like kind of witty satire, playwright type stuff. But this was visual. And so the history about it's a little complex. We're not going to get super deep into this. Like, I don't want to get ridiculously deep in any of these things because there's so much. But we got to pay homage to the comics because the comics do come back in a big way. Oh, you guys want to hear something disgusting?
Sure.
It's really going to make you, I don't know, it's going to be a moan and groan moment.
Oh, God. Okay, fine.
And Sage, you can look this up, okay? If you're available to do so. When was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man released in theaters?
Oh, God.
What was the year?
Oh, fuck. I'm going to hazard a guess that it was before the year 2000 because I'm fairly certain that the Twin Towers were still in the movie.
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's...
That was 2000. Go ahead and guess.
I think it was post Y2K scare, so I want to say 2002.
It was 2002. Yep.
Shit it. I was wrong. That's okay.
But, just so you guys know, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man released 21 years ago.
I
know, it's that like...
Oh, God.
It hurts. It hurts.
I got like physical pain from that. So
right?
Thanks. I didn't need to know that today, but I guess here we are, right?
Where's the emotion?
1999 is when Sony Pictures acquired the film rights to Spider-Man. So, like, they started filming in 1999, 2000s. Early 2000s.
So, just so you guys know, Marvel's history goes back to 1939 under a company name Timely Comics. October of that year saw the first Marvel Comics release, which featured a different-looking Human Torch. And, so it's interesting that it goes back that far. Stan Lee kind of takes over the reins of editor at Marvel in 1973. Interesting stuff. There's a ton of history about Marvel, so excuse me. If you want to know more about it, go watch a video about it. And then we have DC Comics. They were not actually like a superhero company for a long time. They were more of like a comic strip thing. And I think that's why DC Comics has a lot of like weird character IPs that are outside of, I think, what we would assume DC is.
Like they were in the Sunday Funnies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
know that I like Batman.
What was that?
I said I just know that I like Batman.
Batman's great.
I have an unhealthy obsession with Batman.
What was this? It was Detective. That's what it was. This company then... Okay, so it was National Allied Publications, founded by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. The company then merged with Detective Comics, Inform National Comics, and while this was the official name, it quickly became known as DC due to the logo on the front of it. So DC stands for Detective Comics.
Cute.
Which I thought that was interesting. I learned that today. Cool. So they did...
And that's why Batman is one of the poster childs of it, because he's a detective.
Yeah, there was a really cool picture. Oh, it's not in this article. It was a picture of like the first DC comic superhero, and it was basically just no, not Sherlock Holmes. The guy that wore the yellow trench coat with the yellow hat.
The man in the yellow hat, Curious George.
Yes, the character that's based off of.
Oh,
Sherlock.
God.
Sherlock Holmes comes to mind. I don't know.
I don't think that Sherlock Holmes
I don't think it
wore
was,
a yellow trench coat.
Detective, yellow trench coat detective. Someone help me out.
I'm just gonna Google it.
That's gonna bug me.
Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, thank you. It's kind of like a superhero-esque-ish Dick Tracy person. It's very interesting. But he did the same yellow.
Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget's also a good guy.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba, Inspector Gadget. So we can now get into gaming. You guys ready to talk about video games?
Sure.
Pong.
Oh boy, I love Pong.
Unironically,
I love Pong.
The groundbreaking electronic game released in 1972 by the American game manufacturer Atari, one of the earliest video games, Pong became widely popular and helped launch the video game industry. The original Pong consisted of 2 paddles and players used to volley a small ball back and forth across the screen.
I would seriously hope you don't have to actually explain Pong to anybody.
There is more games. There were games before Pong. Pong is not the original video game. However, it's like the first popular video game. It's the first, home, people know it, people play it. Yo, you want to play some Pong. It's kind of like the GoldenEye of its age.
No. I want to say the first actual video game was like a Meteors-esque type game that some scientists programmed on an oscilloscope.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Or something to that effect.
The Atari...
I can't verify it right now.
Something I thought was kind of interesting about Pong was that the Atari founder, Nolan Bushnell, created Pong. I think it's interesting that the founder of Atari actually made the very first kind of viral game. His version of this concept as an arcade game, a small company at the time, Atari began manufacturing the games in an old roller skating rink. And by 1972, the company had sold more than 8,000 Pong arcade machines. In 1975, Atari turned Pong into a console system game. Now, I've heard this before. Atari turned Pong into a console system game, and I've never understood it. I just assumed it meant it was on a cartridge and they put it in an Atari. Right?
You're asking the wrong person.
I don't know. I'm just wondering, does that sound like what, when I think of Pong, I think of a cartridge. I think of a cartridge. But the Pong was a console, almost in and of itself. And I did not know that. I just thought it was like a cartridge. So here is the Pong video game console TV game commercial from 1976. You guys ready?
As I'll ever be.
You're watching the most exciting game you will ever see on your TV set. Telstar by Coleco with 3 different games. Telstar
I just know that I feel old
with
now.
digital scoring, variable speeds. Telstar Hockey. Each player controls a goalie plus a forward on the other side. Oops, a goal. And Telstar Singles Handball, a game you play yourself. Telstar Handball, Tennis, Hockey. All 3 at an exciting low price. For great family fun, hitch your TV to a Telstar by Coleco. Your watch.
There it is. I love the opening line so much. I'm going to play it again.
You're watching the most exciting game you will ever see on your TV set.
You're watching the most exciting game you'll ever see on your TV set.
How little did they know?
Yeah. I think I love going back and watching original commercials and stuff like that. So good. Gun, did I take the wind out of your sails by talking?
What do you mean?
By talking about the Spider-Man release date?
Look, I already felt old to begin with. It is getting worse now. It's fine. It's only because my birthday's in a couple of months, and I'm already feeling it.
Feeling it?
I can feel it, Mr. Krabs.
I got the 35 coming up here soon. Not exciting.
Well, it does make me feel a little less bad, but not by much.
There you go. See, when you're an old man like me.
I'm an old man at heart, just not physically. Ugh,
So,
2002.
I know.
Fuck me.
I know. It hurt when I read it. Akira Kurosawa? Kurosawa?
Akira Kurosawa, nice, yeah.
I think I did good. Akira Kurosawa. I need a treat jar, and I give myself a treat when I pronounce a name correctly.
You should have a treat.
So
jar.
there's a
We have
positive feedback loop, you know?
Yeah, do it.
After training as a painter, he storyboards his films as full-scale paintings. Kurosawa entered the film industry in 1936 as an assistant director, eventually making his directorial debut with the Sanshiro Sugata. Within a few years, he had achieved significant stature to allow him greater creative freedom. First film he made without extensive audio interference, and marked his first collaboration with another person. In the coming decades, the two would make 16 movies. So this is a very, very, very important person in Japanese film. So I didn't want to only talk about US stuff, because it's very, 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 like, the conversation about how Japan got to Nintendo is very important, because obviously stuff that went on in Japan and in the US, the story of Final Fantasy, the story of Donkey Kong, you know, all these things, the story of Pac-Man, it all ties in. And if we didn't have like this much Japanese influence over our gaming culture, I think our gaming culture would be just absolutely insanely different. I mean, just look at Gun right now, you know?
Yay! Yeah, if it wasn't for anime and Japan's influence on our culture, this wouldn't be possible.
It would be, you know, I was trying to think of like, what's the most American cartoon?
G.I. Joe. Can you imagine like the classic G.I. Joe, like, as a VTuber?
My mind
absolutely not.
My mind initially went to King of the Hill. I was like, just imagine a King of the Hill avatars, G.I. Joe avatars,
like old school Hanna-Barbera stuff.
The worst part is that would probably work if you did a live 2D model. I bet you anything somebody's done something like that, but I hate it.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm like, I bet you if someone did that, they would be very popular just because
they're so different
of what it is. Yeah.
That'd be neat.
We're going to watch a tiny bit of this. It's very loud. And I'm not I'm not personally a fan of Japanese cinema. I do not watch like a lot of kung fu movies. I've started to more recently actually, so maybe my taste just needed to mature more.
Hear me out. Kung Fu Hustle is fucking hilarious, and I'm going to do a watch party of it. You are invited.
Is that the one with the two guys who had the violin across their laps and like shot magic with it?
I forget. I don't think that's the one. That might be Shaolin Soccer, but I don't know. Either way, it's really bad, and I love it.
So, yeah, you guys get it. This is kind of the beginning of this sort of thing. This kind of reminds me a lot of Westworld, Season 2. But yeah, super famous. Super famous in, I'm assuming the US as well, but Japan. Good stuff. I think that man's bare butt was showing. So we need to talk about so what makes this important is what we're looking at, and we talked about anime, we talked about manga, we talked about Nintendo, but what this is actually the inspiration of is Star Wars. We wouldn't have Star Wars if we didn't have this.
Yay, Star Wars!
Which I find ridiculously interesting. But basically, Kurosawa was really big into Japanese like mythology. So a lot of his characters had things like channeling chi, channeling like that chakra, you know, those sorts of concepts of and kind of exploding them. So a lot of things like Naruto is attributed to the work he did. And anytime you watch like a Japanese movie where people are flying around or doing kind of inhuman feats, he's kind of the person that started all of that, incorporating that mythology into
Dragon Ball Z.
regular cinema. Did you see this over here? Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, it's not on this slide. We do talk about Dragon Ball. It's very important.
Yay, Dragon Ball.
Very
I know
important.
nothing about it, but I know it exists.
This man was nominated for 1 Oscar and an absolutely ridiculous amount of awards in Japan. I mean, his accolades are... This list goes on forever. And we also got to talk about Flash Gordon just for a quick second. Have either of you ever watched anything Flash Gordon related?
No, but
Not
I'm aware
in
of
many,
it.
many, many years.
Was that a no from you too?
Yeah, it's a no.
No. Football. I haven't either. A football player and his friends travel to planet Mongo and find themselves fighting the tyranny of Ming, the Merciless, to save Earth. I'm assuming this is very racist.
I was gonna say that's
just for reading that. But very interesting that George Lucas took both the works of Kurosawa and Flash Gordon were his 2 biggest influences. Flash.
What plaything can you offer me today?
Oh.
The planet Earth.
What's happening?
It's an attack. Pathetic Earthlings.
Okay, he does not have a problematic accent.
okay. Good. That's a start. That's a huge start, actually. I'll take it.
Let's all team up and fight him.
I'm gonna get
I want him.
a strike for music.
Stop at nothing.
I'm not gonna lie, this trailer makes me want to watch it.
14 hours to save the Earth.
They do be like that sometimes, though.
Gordon's alive?
Yes! Must be my lucky day.
4K resolution.
That's some quality right
I don't
there.
know. That kind of hyped me up a little bit. Even though it's like got terrible ratings, and I've never heard anyone say a good thing about it in real life. Sage, does that make you want to watch it?
It's so retro.
So retro. I can see the appeal of like normal dude doing like abnormal stuff. Pathetic Earthlings, who can save you now? Flash.
I love the eyebrows.
Yeah. So we all know who George Lucas is. He does not need any explanation of what he has done, right? Obviously the founder of Star Wars, LucasArts, Lucasfilms. What was it? LucasArts was the gaming studio, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And Industrial Light and Magic, which is just a visual effects company. I think it's actually kind of interesting that he opened a visual effects company. It doesn't get talked about a lot. And founded THX, which is something I did not know.
I didn't know that either.
But
it makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Served as chairman of Lucasfilm before selling it to Walt Disney in 2012, and we were all very, very sad.
Sag. It's so fun. The Disney World Star Wars stuff is so great, but makes me sad a little bit every time I remember why it's there.
Yeah. It felt dirty. I want Disney to own less things. Disney owns too much. Put some of it back.
They won't.
Ever. And I wish I could see. It's hard because there's a ridiculous amount of information here. Obviously the cool thing I like about George was how many times he pitched Star Wars. I know that's like his kind of famous moment pre-Star Wars, but do you have that number on hand? Could you look that up for me, Sage? I should have had that on hand, but I didn't.
Well, which number?
How many times George Lucas presented his script? I know that's like a really big deal to a lot of big Star Wars fans. But there's so much information here. He has a lot of philanthropy.
I see something about him revising Episode 1 Phantom Menace nearly 20 times.
Oh well, maybe it's not as big of a thing as I thought it was. I remember meeting a few different like really big Star Wars fans, and they all felt the need to let me know about it.
Here's something. Let's see. CNET article: Star Wars broke the rules, the screenwriting rules, and it worked. Defied so many commandments of screenwriting. Introduces its main character almost a full 15 minutes into the movie. Bored kid in the desert.
Did I have notes?
It's not really about presenting it.
Yeah, no worries.
Just
my notes here. I wrote George Lucas was inspired by a variety of sources when creating Star Wars. As a fan of serials such as Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, these space operas informed much of the adventure and storytelling style of Star Wars. Lucas was also influenced by Japanese director Kurosawa, particularly his film The Hidden Fortress, which contributed to the storyline and certain character elements in Star Wars. The concept of the Force draws parallels to the Eastern philosophical and religious concepts such as chi, or ki, and the interconnectedness of all life. Lucas also incorporated elements of the myth and hero's journey as described by Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, a fantastic book, leading to the familiar narrative of an unlikely hero going on a transformative journey. The political and social unrest of the 1960s and 70s also influenced the depiction of the Empire and the Rebellion. Moreover, World War II films influenced the epic battle scenes, while Westerns inspired the frontier-like settings of Tatooine. In creating Star Wars, Lucas melded those various influences to create a unique blend of science fiction, adventure, mythology, and commentary. Good stuff. We good on the George Lucas? I feel like I'm supposed to give the talk about Star Wars more, but it's obviously important. I just, feel like everyone knows why it's important.
Yeah,
it's still topical and like
very
in
topical.
The public knowledge, so you probably don't have to beat it too hard.
Here's nice.
He said
phrasing.
This is awesome though. Look at this. This special preview has been approved for all audience by the Motion Picture Association of America.
Somewhere in space, this may all be happening right now.
I like all these classic things. Like
20th Century Fox and
like someone just sitting on the edge of their seat, like, holy shit. It looks so fucking real. I can't hear anything this man is saying.
I could literally feel the desert heat.
Right. Look at that. Look at that Wookiee.
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe.
It's been a long time since I've watched the originals. A long time.
It's actually hard to watch the quote-unquote originals anymore. What with the remasters and re-releases with edits and stuff done, like the actual originals.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like I can watch a remaster, but I think like I mean, I don't know. How would you even watch the original?
I mean, first you'd have to find a VHS player, and I
Right.
mean that's going to be like finding hen's teeth.
And a VHS that hasn't deteriorated, hasn't melted over time. All right, so Star Wars, good shit, influenced a lot of stuff, sci-fi. Dungeons and Dragons, 1974. Gary Gygax and who was the other guy? Dave Arneson. Arneson.
Yes, the rise of the devil worshippers.
Yeah, and we had the satanic panic of Dungeons and Dragons. Ernest Gary Gygax
One of my
was
favorite chick tracks. Oh my god.
one of your favorite what?
One of my favorite. Okay, Jehovah's Witnesses bull crap. It's they're chick tracks. This guy named, or his last name was Chick, and he used to draw a lot of pro-religion propaganda, and that's one of my favorite ones he did was a Dungeons and Dragons one. I gotta find it now. Hang on. You'll probably recognize it when you see it, but yeah, here we go. It's called Dark Dungeons. I'll toss it in the live chat. There we go. It's so bad.
Dark Dungeons.
Basically, the chick ends up killing herself because her character died, or some shit like that. I don't think that's what actually happened, but it's a whole thing.
I've heard so many of the different things that were published that were incorrect, or it's like like something happened to somebody, something completely normal, but they happen to play D&D, so
It's like, great, love that. Thanks, guys.
Did you say you posted it in the live chat?
I did. I love the embed description on it, too. Debbie thought playing Dungeons and Dragons was fun until it destroyed her friend. Like, oh my god, this is so dramatic.
Let's see. Ernest Gary Gygax was born July 27th, 1938 in Chicago, Illinois. From a young age, he was enamored with adventure and fantasy stories, particularly those by Robert E. Howard and Fritz Leiber. Gygax's interest in games also ignited early. He became an avid chess player and was introduced to miniature war games as a teenager. And those war games were like Civil War and Revolutionary War and like some like Roman Wars and stuff like that. They're just remakes. In the 1960s, Gygax was a co-founder of the International Federation of Wargaming, a network of wargaming clubs. In 1968, he organized the first Lake Geneva War Games convention or Gen Con. So Gygax actually was there, or kind of helping orchestrate the first Gen Con, which grew into one of the largest and longest running gaming conventions in the world. So I wanted to just throw out there some of the stuff that's a little bit away from D&D that he was kind of into. Dave Arneson, Minnesota. He too was interested in miniature war games and was a member of the Midwest Military Simulation Association, where he developed a game called Blackmore, which incorporated elements of fantasy and role-playing. The players controlled individual characters who could grow and change over time rather than controlling a whole army. So he kind of contributed that player individuality element to Gygax's kind of larger scale influence on wargaming.
That's one of the things I think that 40K is missing, is that sort of thing. So, Sheffield.
The 40K tabletop RPG where you do play like an individual character is so good.
I forget that they have that.
I mean, it was made, way later, but
still,
it's just like
so cool.
It's just like Star Wars. Was it Star Wars Empires? Star Wars Galaxies? I can't remember. I think it's something with an E. But there's a tabletop RPG for Star Wars as well, and it is so good. But with both these things, you have to have a game master who knows the worlds like on an intimate level. And it's so hard to find a game master who can really get you there with the role play.
That's what she said.
Nice. Gygax and Arneson first met at the second Gen Con in 1969. In the early 1970s, introduced Gygax to his Blackmore game system. During his visit in Minnesota, Gygax was captivated by the individual character-led gameplay and saw its potential. The two then began a long-distance collaboration to refine the rules and mechanics, combining Gygax's chainmail medieval wargame rules with Arson's innovative role-playing concepts. Gygax also added a structure for characters to gain experience points and level up, creating the character progression system that would become standard in RPGs. So there you guys go.
Ooh, we love standardization.
Dungeons and Dragons came from inspiration from Tolkien, from war games, and they got mixed together, and then Gygax made the first standardized experience game system that we now use in practically all video games, and character sheets and role playing and all that shit happened right here at this time. What was that, 1970s? Yeah.
And so forth shall be the era of the min-maxers.
Yeah, exactly. The meta was born in 1974. Let's see. The result of their collaboration was Dungeons and Dragons, first published in 1974 by Tactical Studies Rules, or TSR, a company Gygax co-founded. The game was unique in its focus in character development, collaborative storytelling, and the Dungeon Master's role in guiding the narrative. D&D quickly gained a dedicated following and spawned an entirely new genre of games, shaping the landscape for role-playing games to date. And this is it here. Don't have a really good picture of it, but Tactical Studies Rules, price $10. The original Dungeons and Dragons handbook. Playable with paper and pencil and miniature figures. It's so interesting that D&D has not changed. As
I know,
far
right?
as like those
I mean,
basic.
like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Why would you? The original book was 112 pages.
I'm saying, just despite Wizards of the Coast's best efforts.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Also, is often known as the white box because later printings after 1976 came in a all white box. There's a book called The Empire of Imagination, which goes over Gary Gygax's like entire life, and it gets into extreme detail about all this, and it is incredibly interesting to hear his firsthand account of the Satanic Panic, how he as a human being like dealt with that, and how much of that came at him and stuff. It's amazing. It's not the whole book, but it's a good chapter in the book. Cool. Oh yeah, and basically the if you guys remember Diablo 1 and like old kind of like original RPG games, they usually only had 3 stats. It was some it'd be dexterity or like agility or something like that. It'd be like intelligence or willpower or will or something like that. It'd be like fighter, mage, rogue, or archer, warrior, wizard.
Why would you need anything else? I mean, we still see that vestiges in like MMOs because it kind of just circles around 3 primary classes, right?
Yeah.
You've got tank, DPS, and healer.
It's
like same concept.
That trinity, like, I feel like was basically inevitable. Hey,
Rock, paper, scissors.
A gun. Does Genshin Impact? They don't use the Holy Trinity, do they?
I mean, technically they do, but it's more DPS shields support than. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you really wanted to, though, you could boil it down to DPS, tank, healer. It's just also support is more healer because it's buffs, debuffs, and healing, and then tanking is shielding, and then DPS is like the main stuff. But it boils down to that essentially.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I think I think with video games, when you can start getting into the complexities of like, I was thinking of Smite. Smite came to mind, where it's like you have magical defense and like physical defense, and you have magical DPS and physical DPS, and then in some games you have like healers are separate from support sometimes. Where like one,
or they can only support in very niche cases.
Right. And typically it's kind of a healer because they give you stuff like energy shields or something like that, so it's like increasing your health pool as opposed to healing you. But usually healing has to be tied in just because your kit wouldn't have enough stuff in it. But gotta give D&D the nod for basically creating the role-playing game as we know it, the experience bar as we know it, the turning the hero's adventurer into a game as we know it. This is when it happened. Important stuff. So if you're a gamer and you look at people playing D&D and you go, I'm a gamer, but at least I'm not a nerd like them, you fucking are, okay? If you've ever gamed...
Sorry to tell you this. If anything, you're more of a nerd because you're dealing with the byproduct of the main nerdiness.
Whatever. All I play is NHL 23.
Oh, God.
And you still gain experience for your account as your account levels up.
No!
I've been duped. Yeah, it's interesting because even games like Forza Horizon, they've turned at each individual Forza Horizon. Each vehicle has been turned into a character, and each one gains experience. And when they basically level up, you buy perks, and those perks help you gain experience in different ways. And when you've gained enough levels and enough cars, you unlock new cars. It's very interesting. And then instead of having classes, you have classifications. So you have dirt tracks, drifting, sprinting, and they're treated as different classes, and you can only bring this class of car to this race. It's so interesting how some of that is like kind of reflective of kind of an original RPG system. Tron. I have mixed feelings about Tron.
Tron not a fan personally.
Tron's very hard for me to watch. Very hard.
Of the original movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was all right. I do absolutely love the Tron level in Kingdom Hearts 2.
That's different.
It's one of my favorite.
I think when it comes to sci-fi, Tron is my favorite sci-fi concept. The whole idea, the whole concept of, because a lot of sci-fi expands. It makes Earth small. You know, it's like technology is big and it's out there, and it's in the form of like aliens and invasions and mechs and robots and transformers, and it's just all this big stuff, big stuff. But Tron, I like that it gets you inside of the technology. And obviously it's where the TV series on Toonami Reboot came from. And I was a big fan of Reboot. Can't watch it now because it is very hard to watch. But when I was a child, I thought it was cool as heck. Tron is insanely culturally important in the 1980s. It kind of sparked a wave of sci-fi. A lot of your stuff, like even like cyberpunk, you get a lot of that stuff, that lot of personal modification, a lot of that using tech to modify the self, and to communicate with the machine, a lot of AI concepts, all of that stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, it's amazing that a lot of these concepts are coming to fruition currently.
Yeah, right?
Transhumanism.
I mean, not that I'm going to let Elon Musk put a fucking chip in my head, but I'll let somebody do it eventually.
Eventually. When the home kit becomes available, I'll let someone do it.
When it's safe enough for me to do it myself, then we can talk about it.
You ever hear about the transhumanists who put magnets, like surgically implanted small magnets, into the tips of their fingers so they can, quote unquote, feel magnetic fields?
I've heard
But
of.
that makes me uncomfortable. And also sounds like a great way to explode an MRI machine.
Yeah, right.
I also saw a video where the guy was getting it done on his fingertip. And then you saw him working on a car and he dropped like a nut or something and he reached down and poked it with his finger.
I love that.
And it was like just a quote at the bottom, "I have transcended." It's like nice. Here's a reminder for anyone who needs the reminder of what Tron is.
The computer.
Guess I could do this.
An extension of the human intellect. The NCOM 511.
The NCOM
Center of the most
511.
calculating intelligence on Earth. Programmed by Master Control to survive by all means. Soon, the ultimate tool.
What does it even
will
mean?
Become the ultimate enemy.
What does it even mean? I gotta say, I do not remember the premise of Tron. I remember the movie, but I have no idea what the stakes were.
Why you want to
I
break
feel like
into
it's
the
just
system.
Proto Ready Player One in some capacity.
Somewhere in one of these memories is the evidence. Hey, it's the big master control program everybody's been talking about.
That everybody's been talking about.
Taken prisoner and held captive within the digital world of the computer itself.
I mean, having your consciousness broke down and turned into part of a computer program, that's a pretty, that's an interesting thing for someone to come up with in 1982. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big concept. Quite sci-fi,
Yeah.
many wow.
Digimon did it better.
Digimon did it best. Here is a 1982 Tron commercial.
Time magazine calls it a vision of the movie's future, sights that no eye, no camera has ever before
The MC.
beheld. UPI finds it utterly new, vividly exciting, a trip and a half. Newsweek
Utterly
describes
new,
it as somewhere
vividly
you've
exciting.
never been, a brave new world set inside a computer. No movie has ever looked like this before. Omni calls it an imaginative, spectacular
And
film.
it's aping that was A New Hope aping like the look, like Star Wars, like the movie poster.
The New Hope came out before this, didn't it?
So like was it was aping A New Hope then, right?
Yes, it would be then.
The whole standing there pose with the power.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. With the light beam coming out of the disc. And last but not least, 1980, we get Pac-Man. By the way, I found out that Pacman.com is a really nice website.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they got a lot of,
Pac-Man stuff.
Like they talk about the ghosts.
Okay, so Tron was definitely aping
Oh, this is cute.
poster then.
They have
Oh my god, I love it.
a full-on history of the whole thing.
Oh, that's so cute.
Isn't it great? I was very happy to find out this exists. I also found out if you type in Pac-Man in a Google search, you can play Pac-Man.
That's also great to know. Thank goodness.
If you're ever just feeling it. As we know, Pac-Man was originally Puck-Man, but certain angles and certain fonts and certain places, the P was very easily turned into an F or mistaken for an F. So Puck-Man.
It's a great Dojin name.
Yeah, it's like let's just get the let's get the K out of there, and then it's like, yeah, but they can still kind of, still with the F, and they're like, okay, we'll make it an A. How about that? Because I guess the power-ups were called pucks originally, or the dots were called pucks originally.
It makes sense. They kind of look like hockey pucks.
It's true. And Pac-Man used to have a massive nose. I'm glad they did away with the massive nose.
Yeah, same. That makes me uncomfortable.
The more I look at it, the more I hate it. It's off-center. It's like below his right eye. On May 22nd, the first focus test was held for Pac-Man. The game is released to the Japanese public in July. Pac-Man Takeover event. What is this? U.S. release. Mega hit. A major hit in the United States. The game comes to the United States in October of the same year. Soon after, Pac-Man takes the world by storm. In 1 year, more than 100,000 units sold. There you go. Then we get Mrs. Pac-Man, and we get Super Pac-Man, and we get Pac and Pal. You know what's really interesting, to me anyway, that like none of these took off. I mean, Mrs. Pac-Man did, but it was like basically the same thing with a few different levels. But everyone kept going back to the original. Where's my favorite Pac-Man game? This one right here. This was for the Super Nintendo.
Was it Pac-Man World 2?
Is that what it was? Pac-Man. This doesn't say. Oh, right there. No, maybe. It was the you get to like walk around his town.
Yeah, that was yep. Because they released a Sega Genesis version of that too, and I played the shit out of that.
It was
that was such a weird. I don't know. Looking back on it, I don't know if I could actually call it a good game. It was fucking weird though. It was really interesting.
It was the original Dark Souls.
Yeah, totally.
There were so many ways to die. You were constantly dying and having to start over.
You piss him off too much? Well, guess what? Now he's gonna jump off this cliff because fuck you. He does what he wants.
And like when I say die, I mean like you could get an ice cream and like a crow could knock the ice cream out of your hand and Pac-Man would like reset back at his house. He'd look really sad.
I would also kill myself if a crow knocked ice cream out of my hand. So.
Or this balloon salesman. Yeah, you piss off the balloon salesman, Pac-Man goes home. So it's like you do anything. You do anything that makes Pac-Man slightly sad, and it's over. You get water on his face.
Pac-Man, feel your feelings. It's good for you.
So Pac-Man, obviously, ridiculously important to the arcade industry. And that's kind of the birth of esports is around your Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. And what was the other one? Caterpillar? Boom. That's our first dive. Just a sneak peek of where this is going. We still got to talk about the Famicom. We need to talk about Hogarth's moral modern subjects, because this gets us into this kind of satire drawings from early Britain, how that made its way to Japan, Japanese artists making manga. We get Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. Oh man. And Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball eventually lead to Star Trek Next Generation. Oh yeah. We're getting there.
A lot to cover.
It is.
That's part of the fun.
Not for today though. I know this was definitely different. What do you guys think about this kind of thing? This is a very, very different sort of thing.
I enjoyed it, but I feel like I need a briefing sheet.
Oh, to know what we're going to be talking about?
Just so I can follow along easier, because I've got a very tiny brain.
How about you, Sage? What did you think of it?
Whimsical Wednesdays. Yeah,
Wednesdays.
Yeah, Wednesday is always the odd day out.
That's okay. You gotta have those.
Because Monday
Wednesday, I like that.
Monday we're always talking about like what happened over the weekend, basically. And then Friday, I really, really, really like covering our weird shit on Friday. But Wednesday is always a wild card. It's like not much news.
Wild card Wednesday.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, there it is.
Words right out of your mouth.
But you know, it's like Wednesdays. Like how much shit can happen between midnight on Monday and 9 p.m. on Wednesday? You know, typically not much. Oh, or a lot.
It's one or the other. There's really no in between.
Yeah, true. I mean, and sometimes we talk about like two subjects and that covers 3 hours.
True.
Depends on what Elon Musk is doing.
I was just gonna say that.
So I feel weird now because I have a basically what you just asked for, Gun.
Beautiful.
And I absolutely could have sent this out to you guys.
That's okay. I should have asked beforehand, but now that we've actually done it, I know.
It feels like something I probably should have like already known to do, but
that's okay.
We'll definitely, yeah, because then you guys could look ahead, if you wanted to, and if you wanted to bring something else to the table, that'd be great too. Silly me, didn't even think about it.
Well, it's okay. Now we know for next time, and we've used our big boy words, and we're having a conversation. It's good.
Cool.
I'll fight you.
Don't fight me. I don't want to be fought.
I will fight you. I will fight you.
Fisticuffs, mademoiselle.
Fisticuffs?
No. Fisticuffs indeed, yes.
Yeah, the origin of anime starts in 1697. Isn't that
good lord
bananas? That's that's a whole thing. I had to separate anime from everything else, even though like our timeline's moving forward. It's so spread out and so convoluted that it was like it needs kind of its own timeline.
Understandably, I mean, it's anime. No shit. It wouldn't be anime if it wasn't like 5 times as convoluted as the premise.
True and real. Very real. What another interesting thing is also like the origins of cosplay is super interesting.
I love that. That's so fun.
But I mean, obviously people have been dressing up and acting and stuff like forever. But like when people first started like turning their, I guess you could say, nerdom into like just wanting to wear their characters, very interesting history. And we will talk about that. But this was a good kind of foundation, laying the foundations of kind of where did we come from? How did we get here? Or at least hopefully that was, that was the point. So hopefully that came across.
A great start.
We'll definitely make an interesting YouTube documentary someday.
Like one of those 12-hour ones that I'll put on in the background at work and have to watch 6 times before I actually absorb all of it. I love that. Please.
I want to get into, when I turn it into the YouTube series, I want to get into like a ton of detail. Not to like...
Hell yeah.
I don't want to like exhaust everybody, and it'll probably have more of a story flow to it than this. But I couldn't find anything. All the stuff I could find online was just kind of like bits and pieces and here and there, or it was like so surfacey, that it didn't really get into the weeds at all. So I'm excited to make that kind of bigger piece. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for you.
Yay!
For you people.
It's wonderful.
All of you people out there.
You people.
I really like your character.
Your Radians.
Gun.
Your peasants.
You should use this more frequently.
I don't want to be a VTuber.
I know, but it's so nice. It was so nicely made.
I made it myself, thank you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Even
I
more.
actually really love playing with the software. It's a lot of fun.
If you ever want to make a GLARP, you go right ahead.
I'll consider it. Making men is a lot harder to do than women
well, it's anime. We all look the same.
Oh, that too. That's true. Very good point.
Just like random man template with a little bit of scruff and glasses.
That's literally what there is. There is the worst part.
We gotta check on our nation real quick.
We don't have nation time, or do we?
No, we have time for one vote.
One vote. We'll do one vote.
We'll do one vote.
I don't think
since we have a guest.
I was gonna say
her vote can count twice.
Count twice. I don't even think Gunn knows what you're talking about.
I'm gonna sit here and pretend that I do.
Okay. So we have a country of our own, a nation of our own. The trade and raid, the community of trade and raid that became a corrupt dictatorship last time on Monday.
And you said you weren't a dictator.
I only do what the community asks me to.
Kinky.
They voted for this.
They wanted this. Oh, yep. See, chat, y'all are kinky. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. I need to...
All right.
I closed out of this and I thought I killed the stream. Okay. The stream's good. Oh, are you guys interested in the nation as well?
I mean, if I was in chat, I'd be interested in the nation.
I'm glad.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I gotta get the polls ready. Ah. Okay, I'm having technical difficulties. Yeah. So we will get straight to the issues as long as I'm actually logged in. I'm not, because this is the looking view. Yep, we're here. Oh, gay men held by police. That's our issue. Here we go. Trade and Radiant tourists. Elrod. The names piss me off. Why are these names so ridiculous? Why doesn't it just say Bob and Phil? Elrod and Tago were recently on a romantic city break in the capital of Sakurdia, and like many other couples, made a point of kissing by moonlight on the world-famous Lover's Bridge. Unfortunately for them, homosexuality is a crime in Sarcadia, and they were arrested. Elrod...
Not based.
Not based at all. Elrod and Tygo perhaps could have been more... Oh boy.
Are we victim blaming?
Circumspect?
Oh boy.
But they're trade and radiant citizens who have committed a crime under our laws, observes Trade and Radiant Consulate Officer Paul Myfinger. Paul Myfinger. Nice.
That's a good one.
We have a moral obligation to negotiate their release. I suggest we could make a couple of trade concessions favoring Sacridian woodland, oh my god, woolen goods with selective tariffs on competitor nations. For example, in return, our out-of-the-closet citizens can be gotten out of hot water. I'm also confident we can establish procedures to send home any future Trade and Radiants arrested there. Everybody wins.
Raise his hand. I think I've already chosen my answer.
Have you?
I have.
Did you read through these already?
Yeah, I read fast.
Revered.
I'll wait though, please.
I wish I knew how to read.
You know what? Since you like reading so much, Gunn, would you like to read these?
I would love to. Please allow me.
Do it.
Reverend Indy Nile is both a priest and a general in the Skirskirder Holy Army, and he has a counterproposal. Gayness is against the will of the Lord our God, the God Emperor, all hail. We will give you back these transgressors, but you must recognize the holy truth that homosexuality is a grave sin. Oh God. Ban Batty Boy. Is that what the fuck?
Yeah, your turn. How do you like it?
It's funny.
That's
not a word. That is not a word. It will extradite these criminals to your jurisdiction. Let us move forward together in faith. He gazed up adoringly at a semi-naked statuary depiction of his deity. Classy. Very classy. Option 3 is, we have to be balanced about this, I'm afraid, offers Foreign Officer Diplomat Hyde Yorlov. That's actually a good name, I like that. Out of respect for judicial sovereignty, we must leave the couple to the mercy of the Sakurdian justice system. To stop this happening again, maybe we can set up a bureau to issue guidance and travel advice for gay holidaymakers. I mean, that's not a bad option either. That is probably not a bad thing to add in. And option 4. Bellows perpetually angry gay activist Neil Foreman, tipping your desk over in a rage. I am gay man, hear me roar! My leader, we cannot negotiate with these filthy homophobes and bigoted scum. Send the army in and rescue my proud brethren, then bomb Circadia until they agree to repeal their homophobic laws. We'll give those blighters cold hard steel, because they don't like it up the bum, you know, I guess. I can't read it, but it's behind my head, but it's there. It's okay. Personally, I'm a fan of option 4 because I love yelling like an orc.
Rog!
All
right.
So my vote is 4.
So your vote is to just bomb them into submission.
Bomb the shit out of them because they're homophobes and bigots. I stand by that IRL.
What if you kill closeted gays in your bombings?
It's okay. if the god
it's what they
Emperor
would have
wills it.
wanted. It's what they would have wanted. Don't
It's
even
what they
worry
would
about
have
it.
wanted. It's fine.
All right, get your votes in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get your votes in. How do you feel, Sage? What are you voting for?
It's brute force.
Brute force.
Brute force. Let's go.
Brute force.
I mean,
we might be an evil dictatorship, but at least we allow the gays to exist.
I mean, raid is in the name. We
True.
trade and we raid. If we're not trading for gays, we're bombing for them. It's one or the other.
I approve of this. As a gay myself, I approve.
Carpet bombing for goodness. All right, we got 3 votes in. 3 votes in. Going once. Going twice. It would only let me add 4 options, so I couldn't add a dismiss option. I've never seen them have 4 options in here, so.
I disapprove of chat's dislike of my wanting to bomb the place.
All right. The pool has ended with a 50-50 split.
Shitted.
As such, because I don't like to make decisions because I don't want to be judged for my decision making on my own channel, we'll flip a coin.
Oh boy, I approve of this.
Flip a coin. Heads, we bomb them. Tails, we don't. Sound good?
I approve.
We bomb them.
I love bombing places.
Gay bomb.
Everyone, hearts in chat for our bombs. War is made in the name of love.
As it should be.
And we got
make love and war.
Address 10 issues. We got a new card. How lovely.
Ooh.
We didn't really get any. I wish it gave us a little bit more information. I guess it will on our one page. Our defenses went up 8%. Weaponization went up 2.6. Recreational drug use went up a bit. Pacifism went down. Social conservatism went down.
Good.
But this did not affect our country nearly as much as I thought it would.
See, I told you that bombing them was a good idea. You don't believe me? I am the best foreign policy advisor.
I mean,
I'm better than Richard Nixon.
We might have some future issues that spring up from that now that we're at war.
It's fine. We're protecting the gays.
Gun, do you have a few more minutes or do you got to run right now?
I've got a couple more minutes.
Okay, I'm going to do another one. It's hard not to do more. Ambassadors behaving madly. Well, there you go. That's Gun.
That is me. That is in fact me.
This is 5 options. We can't do 5 options in chat. Should I dismiss anything that we can't vote on properly?
Yes. I think that's a good choice.
What do you think, Sage? You think that's good?
Oh, wait, why can't we vote on it properly?
Because there's 5 options.
Yeah, the poll will only let me do 4.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, that's probably fair.
Westphalian sovereignty. After the United Federation sent 2 police cars and police helicopter, 5 drones, and a wind-up toy into trade and raid to capture Mega Momo, a trade and radiant citizen and alleged terrorist, the government has called a special meeting to see what should be done about this blatant breach of sovereignty. We need to modify our military and sharpish to keep those United Federation pests out of our national territory, angrily growls General Pushkin whilst marching a platoon of troops into your office.
Good Lord.
We need to stop them from doing it again. Order the entire army to the border and have them shot. Any intruders on sight. That'll learn them. Are you mad? What was that?
I love that'll learn them.
That'll learn them.
That's great. That'll learn them.
We need to modify our military and sharpish. That's what I should have done.
Next time.
Are you mad? Exclaims Finley, one of your more queasy ministers while trying to conceal her worry beads. The United Federation has Gigadeath 4000 planes, Smash-tastic 2000 helicopters, and Udi now 500 missiles. And we barely have glorified crop dusters. We need to engage the international community and try to convince them to join us in enacting sanctions against the United Federation. That will show them we're serious. I like the names they made up. Was it so bad for the United Federation to bring their coppers here? Sighs Dumas, your border patrol chief, while rolling his eyes at the other speakers. Mega Momo is a terrorist, and if the United Federation police got him first, then good for them. In fact, if other countries...
that is a major breach of sovereignty, sir.
Right. I like how he's the border patrol chief, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I'd have done the same thing.
In fact, if other countries want to cross our borders to arrest someone, we should let them. Then there'd be fewer crimes for us to worry about.
No, that's not how that works. Oh my god.
So, yeah. On the question of sovereignty, is the answer shoot on sight, be diplomatic, or they did nothing wrong? We could just make all crime someone else's problem.
See, as much as I love the idea... Oh no, I hit the wrong one. My vote's not actually for 3, my vote's for 2.
Looks like a vote for 3 for me. I mean...
No, it's a vote for 2. I fat-fingered it. I'm using my phone. Leave me alone. I'm being bullied.
I'm being bullied. Trade and raid is not a safe space.
Clearly.
So
well, I mean, I don't know. We bombed a whole country for the gays. I think that makes us a pretty safe space.
I mean...
No, we can go to other countries and arrest people, but if they want to come to our country and arrest people, fuck that.
Exactly.
We should just trade. You know?
And then raid.
There it is. Trading and raiding. If we're not trading, we're raiding. And if we're not raiding, we should be trading.
Truly.
So we technically, I guess, number 2 is winning.
Yeah, my vote's for number 2.
Sort of.
Number 3.
Kinda. Ish. Not, I can't prove that Gunn did as said. All right,
but
so
I did.
We want to engage an international community and convince them to join us. We probably could use some allies since we started randomly bombing other countries.
It's not randomly. They look, if this was the United States of America, they took our sovereign citizens hostage.
They took our precious gays, and we need to get them back.
They took our gays.
Resource.
Yeah.
Weapons of mass gate them.
I like that, SK. Trade and don't raid us. All right, ending the poll with an outstanding number 2 won.
Oh, good. I guess number 2 won anyway. That's fine with me.
Here we
Let's
go. Foreign policy is to avoid standing up to bullies. Nice. The trade and radiant economy fell from fair to developing.
Yay! Oh, that's not good.
No.
It said fell. Oh.
Pacifism went up 5%. Income equality went up 3%.
That's good.
The arms manufacturing industry dropped by 6%. Defense dropped by 5%. Crime went down. Economy went down. Manufacturing went down. A lot of 5% downs. Not much up, though. However...
bad choice.
I wouldn't say so. Because a lot of these issues, they kind of like are the breeding grounds for the next issues that come through.
Oh, fair enough.
So, just so you know, Gunn, what we do afterwards is we read about our nation because it changes every time we do stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
The community of Trade and Raid is a tiny, safe nation, notable for its barren, inhospitable landscape and suspicion of poets. The cynical population of 10 million Trade and Radians are ruled with an iron fist by the dictatorship government, which ensures that no one outside the party gets too rich. In their personal lives, however, citizens are relatively unoppressed. It remains to be seen whether this is because the government genuinely cares about its people or if it hasn't gotten around to stamping out civil rights yet.
Well, I mean, we just bombed somebody for the day, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, this might read very differently come Friday. The medium-sized, well-organized government prioritizes defense with welfare, education, and healthcare also on the agenda, while international aid and industry are ignored. The average income tax rate is 22%, but much higher for the wealthy. The developing trade and radiant economy, worth 328 billion subs per year, is fairly diversified and led by the arms manufacturing industry, with significant contributions from gambling, automotive manufacturing, and retail. State-owned companies are common. Average income is 30,000 subs and distributed extremely evenly, with little difference between the richest and poorest citizens. Punitive tariffs protect local industry. All major public areas are watched by police surveillance cameras. War is made in the name of love, and foreign policy is to avoid standing up to bullies. Crime is almost non-existent thanks to the capable police force and progressive social policies to educate the welfare. And welfare.
Ooh.
Trade and Radiant's national animal is chat, which can occasionally be seen sifting through the garbage in the nation's cities.
I love that.
I read the whole thing just for that final line that has been the same since we started.
So good. I love it. Good for you guys, chat. I'm so proud of you for being trash pandas. Maybe that's not something I should be proud of, but I'm proud of you.
My chat is trash, and I've got the receipts.
It's okay. Mine's pretty bad, too.
I'm just kidding, guys. Don't leave me.
They're not going to leave. They could never leave.
So this
is an abusive relationship.
Yeah. They don't gang up on me, though.
That's good.
They gang up
Unlike
on you.
me.
Yeah, I was going to say, your chat gangs up with you on you a lot. My chat loves me more.
I don't know. My chat loves me more, I think, because they bully me.
I was going to say, maybe me not being bullied is a bad thing. Maybe the no news is bad news. Alrighty. This is it. This is the end. We're wrapping up a little bit early today. Not super early. I got to get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Why on earth did you make that ungodly decision?
Just so someone doesn't have to drive like by themselves for a long distance.
You're a better friend than me. By a lot.
You trade and raid my heart.
That's cute.
Got me.
SK, that's cute.
So this has been the 14th episode, I believe, of the Trade and Raid podcast with my co-host Gunmetal Hime.
Ooh. Well, I mean, am I even really a co-host at this point? I'm only here like once a month.
Doesn't matter. You're my co-host.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just gonna... Okay.
Friend of the channel. Friend of the chat. Friend of the Glarp. Gunmetal Hime. And your disembodied... I don't got anything.
Spooky Spaceman.
Sage.
The Spooky Spaceman Sage. I love that.
Who voices
Some people call him Maurice.
Like usual, we will be back on Friday, the 28th. And yeah. At 9 o'clock EST. As normal.
Hell yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you come back for more. How awkward can I make this?
Just stare at the camera silently for like 30 seconds and just slowly zoom in on yourself.
Mouth agape. Just,
exactly.
Especially if I go like over here.
Itchy hand. Why's my hand so itchy?
Like just hiding behind gun. I gotta fix it. It's gonna bother me. I can't do it. It bothers me too much. All right, guys. Love you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming out. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Oh, and how we do this around here is I go black screen and I mute the microphone. But I stay live for like 20 seconds. So that way it kind of... because of the delay. Otherwise, it just cuts the stream. So that's what we're going to do now.
Understandable. That's fun.
I'm going black now.
Once you go black, you never go back.
I was going to say that. God damn it.